calling Baton Rouge? How about Baton Rouge calling for a new coach? Brian Kelly, unemployed. What a weekend in college football.
I'm calling Ben Chadwick because he's got to face me in the juicer. He's going down.
Okay, well, that's right around the corner, but also knocking on the door, it's college basketball season. We'll break it all down. It's all to come on No Pulp. It starts right now.
The best performance, I think, all year from Ohio State against Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
They just don't lose at the shoe. She's the best player in women's college basketball in my eyes.
To stay alive, can they hook 'em? Touchdown!
They have the most prolific goal scorer of all time.
He will fire.
He's the guy.
I'm the guy.
Ian's the guy today.
Experience is what matters when it comes to Omaha.
Valuable. You know the number is everything for a team.
First time, how are we feeling, Jake?
I'm excited to win the juicer.
We'll have Jake Klein in the juicer later on, but for now, No Pulp gets going. I'm Adam Hipsky. He is Jake Klein, and college football is in spooky season with this coaching carousel. Every coach in the nation on the hot seat, it seems, and you can't get a week under your belt without another coach getting fired. Number 3, Texas A&M takes down number 20 LSU in dominant fashion, 49-25. And Jake, obviously the Aggies have been uber impressive so far in 2025, but the story in this one, Brian Kelly out.
Yeah, we've got plenty of Brian Kelly talk. I know we disagree on this a little bit, but first I want to give some flowers to A&M because right now it seems like it's Texas A&M and the rest of the SEC. Marcel Reed is playing on another level. This defense has stepped up time and time again. Texas A&M, we've got to start admitting, is just a really good football team.
Well, yes, certainly, and I think the SEC is as top-heavy as it's ever been, and that's saying something, but when you get a team like Texas A&M in the fold that maybe you weren't expecting at the start of the season, and you have a Heisman candidate in Marcel Reed that maybe you weren't expecting, I think that adds a whole nother dimension to the Southeastern Conference that we're not accustomed to in the last couple of years.
Yeah, completely agree. It's been the Georgia and Alabama show. Little sprinkles of LSU every couple of years, but boy, I mean, look at this. Just as good as it gets.
Exactly. Snapping a 6-game losing streak in Tiger Stadium, which then brings us to the main point of college football.
Yeah.
And that's Brian Kelly, who has now been relieved of his duties in Baton Rouge. And Jake, your first takeaway from that?
The expectations of the fan base at LSU are absolutely outrageous.
Oh, come on.
The guy went 34-14.
And how many college football playoff
in 4
appearances?
seasons? None. But look, this is not the same college football that Nick Saban won a natty in his first 4 years, Les Miles won a natty in his first, and Coach O won a natty in his first 4. This is a different college football. There are no superpowers anymore. The playing field is leveled. It is not nearly as easy to get into the college football playoff, even though it's expanded.
Yeah.
There are far more good teams. It's hard to do what those coaches do. I would have liked to see a little bit more patience out of LSU.
I mean, losing 3 games in the first 8 games is unacceptable in LSU, and I understand that it's hard to follow up on those 3 that you just mentioned, Nick Saban, Ed Orgeron, and Les Miles. But you still have to do better with the resources that you have in Baton Rouge. And honestly, it's similar to what James Franklin had a couple of weeks ago. Once you lose the fan base, it's hard to turn them back around, especially when you still have nearly half a season.
Do you know how many programs out there would kill for a 34-14 record?
No, I understand that, but right now, it's even more scary for college football coaches and programs alike, because with James Franklin out, you can say Mike Gundy's out, maybe Luke Fickell's in there as well. So right now, college football programs, universities, whatever, institutions are going to be more trigger happy on letting go of their coaches because of how many people are going to be in this carousel.
Yeah, one of the coaches who's been having his name fly around in those coaching carousel conversations is Lane Kiffin, who led his number 8 Ole Miss Rebels to a 34-26 win this past weekend on the road at number 13 Oklahoma. Ole Miss just keeps on winning.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's right. I mean, Lane Kiffin, I'll say this, I think this is the best team that he's had down there in the Grove, and I think this was the most impressive win, and of course, it's the first top 25 win on the road for Lane Kiffin, so you put that stat under your belt, and sure, it's impressive, but right now, it's the resilience that the Rebels have shown this year that they haven't in years past.
Hey, look, it's hard to win on the road in the SEC. Norman's a tough place to play. This was a groggy, wet game, but I think Oklahoma's just not very good. People forget that Brent Venables came into the season on probably one of the 5 hottest seats in the country
100%.
and basically saved his own bacon by hiring Ben Arbuckle as his offensive coordinator and therefore getting John Mateer as his quarterback.
Well,
but he got
absolutely.
hurt. They talked about a possible season-ending injury, and then they bring him back in 3 weeks. The guy has not been himself. He was dreadful in the Red River game against Texas. I think this Oklahoma team was about as fraudulent a top 20 team as you'll find.
And we all know how those early season wins can sometimes be a little bit overrated. You beat an 18-year-old true freshman quarterback at home in Bryce Underwood, and then all of a sudden John Mateer is the Heisman
we just
favorite.
declared that Oklahoma was a national championship contender.
Absolutely, and I understand that, but I still think you have to give Ole Miss its flowers here. I mean, on track for their 3rd straight 10-win season. This is something that Lane Kiffin, once again, like Curt Cignetti, used that leverage, got a contract extension, and I think he's sticking around. You can say what you will about LSU, Florida being open. I think Lane Kiffin's comfortable right here.
I think he would be a fool not to stay at Ole Miss because at Ole Miss, he can win 10 games and maybe sneak into the college football playoff and maybe not, and they're going to be happy with that. Apparently, if you do that at LSU, that gets you fired in less than 4 years.
Oh, absolutely. And the guys that preceded Lane Kiffin, preceded Brian Kelly rather, didn't do him any favors, but a guy that took over a program with no expectations, that's Clark Lay. And number 10 Vanderbilt keeps on rolling. This weekend, it was a 17-10 victory over number 15 Missouri. Diego Pavia is legit. He's the real deal, and he's got Vanderbilt on the map.
Look, I think Diego Pavia is solid. Don't get me wrong. But I think the people who don't really know Vanderbilt or don't really follow that program think that what Vandy is doing right now is because of Diego Pavia. That's wrong. What Vanderbilt is doing right now is something that has not been done in its program since the 60s, and it's because of its head coach, Clark Lea. Next year, Diego Pavia is not going to walk through that tunnel for Vanderbilt anymore, and they are still going to be a good team, and they're going to attract a great quarterback this offseason, not because of Diego Pavia, but because of what Clark Lea has built around Diego Pavia. He's a solid quarterback. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but what Vandy is doing has more to do with everything around him than it does with the quarterback play. Because look what they did against a Missouri offense that was rolling coming into the day.
No, I totally understand. I'll say this. I don't think there's a team that is more important to the program than Diego Pavia. I think he has changed the trajectory of Vanderbilt football, and I get it. You can look at the coaching staff all you want, but the energy that he brings into that locker room, into the facility day in and day out, I mean, you hear it all across the country, is that Diego Pavia can inspire this defense, and, you know, this is besides the point, but I don't think Clark Lea's walking through that door next year either.
Oh, I totally disagree. Clark Lea played at Vanderbilt. When he got there, he said, I want to be the savior of this program. That guy bleeds black and gold. I think LSU should call him. I think Florida should call him. But what he wants to do is be the Bill Snyder of Kansas State for Vanderbilt, or the Matt Campbell of Iowa State for Vanderbilt. He wants to take that program from the doldrums of college football and make it a consistent winner.
I think it's easy to say that before you legitimately turn around that program. All right, we're talking about changing programs. Let's talk about changing the entire landscape of college basketball, and that is London Johnson at Louisville, who has played in the G League, played in professional basketball, and now he's heading down to Louisville, Kentucky, and playing for Pat Kelsey and company. What do you make of it?
Well, this is just bizarre. I mean, I don't know why this is allowed, but I guess all the rules are out the window now. If you just sue the NCAA, you win every time because it's a monopoly. So go for it, I guess. Do I agree with it? No. But I do credit London Johnson and Pat Kelsey for understanding that they can do this according to the current rules and taking advantage of it when nobody else did. Curt Cignetti of Indiana football always talks about finding a way to get an edge.
Yeah.
Well, this is a great way to get an edge from Pat Kelsey.
Well, absolutely. Pat Kelsey, one of his counterparts. You're not happy with it. I'm not happy. Pat Kelsey certainly happy with it, but one person that isn't, it's Tom Izzo.
To me, it's ridiculous. To me, it's embarrassing. And I love my job. I don't respect my profession. And I don't respect who's ever doing that. Whoever made those decisions, because they're afraid that a lawyer's going to sue them, sooner or later you got to fight the fight.
And here's what I think is the most ridiculous part of it all. Tom Izzo didn't know that the ruling was coming out.
Coaches all over the country were like, I didn't know that was allowed.
So then all of a sudden, you've got Tom Izzo, who's now at a disadvantage as a coach because he didn't know that this ruling was coming out. I think that would have shifted everyone in the country's perspective on portal recruiting, on high school kids recruiting. If you could just go down the street and look at what, the Noblesville Boom and the Maine Celtics are doing. So all of a sudden, you unlock a whole new talent pool. It's unfair. It's a mismatch for the guys on the floor, and honestly, it's just blatantly unfair.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what the NCAA rules are at this point. I mean, you see them right here, something about meals and health insurance, and I don't know what all that has to do with London Johnson going from being a professional basketball player to suddenly having college eligibility. Yeah. When this guy committed to the G League Ignite program out of high school, he announced, word for word, I am foregoing my NCAA eligibility, and now here he is again.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, ridiculous. London Johnson will take the floor with Louisville this winter, and Ben Chadwick takes the floor in the Juicer right after this. Welcome back to No Pulp, alongside Jake Klein and Ben Chadwick. I'm Adam Hipsky. It's Juicer time. And guys, any pleasantries we want to get out of the way before we take this one head on?
I don't know what this suit is. Ben is dressed like it's the Kentucky Derby, just missing a nice fancy hat.
It was a nice day outside. I figured I'd match the suit to the nice day.
No, it looks good.
Excuse me.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, we got championships on the line, and what better way to get to a championship than defense wins them? Who's got the best defense in college football? We'll start with you, Jake.
Look, no question in my eyes, it's Ohio State, and you can debate who they've played and who they haven't played, but the fact of the matter is Ohio State has allowed less than 6 points per game this season. That is a historically good number. The last team to go a full season allowing less than 6 points a game on average was in the 1970s. So look, they've got the best player, defensive player anyway, in college football, in Caleb Downs. They've allowed the fewest yards in the country per game by far. Matt Patricia is doing an unbelievable job, and you can't argue with the fact that they're averaging less than a touchdown per game. It's unbelievable what Matt Patricia and Ohio State are doing right now. And Ben, You can argue and tell me whatever you want, but you can't argue with the numbers.
Oh, I can? Do I have your permission to now argue against you? Are you giving me that honor?
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Look, I can't argue the numbers, and I understand that against Ohio State, but I will argue exactly what you said I shouldn't argue, their opponents. Who have they played whatsoever this season? They haven't played a top 40 offense the entire year. My pick is Indiana as the best defense.
Oh, yeah, they've played a lot of good teams.
Oregon? Is Oregon not a good team anymore? The number 7 offense in the country that averages 40 points per game. 2 weeks ago, what did Indiana do to them? They held them to 20 points. This is an Indiana defense that's top 20 in both rushing and passing defense.
Ohio State's top 7 in those categories.
Again, who have they played? They held Dante Moore, who at the time was a Heisman frontrunner. They forced 2 interceptions against him. They had Oregon less than 300 yards on the day as well. That is the one game I'm going off of because it's the only game I need to go off of because Ohio State doesn't have that competition.
Yeah. They do have the best player in college football on the defensive side, but right now, Dante Moore looked a fool in Austin Stadium. I'm going to go Ben Chadwick, and he takes a 1-0 lead, but don't worry, 2 points on the line in this one. And Jake, we will start with you, a Power 4 head coach that is on the hot seat. Brian Kelly's done. Luke Fickell, maybe? Who you got?
I'm taking that guy, Luke Fickell. Absolutely atrocious at Wisconsin right now. The guy has taken one of the most consistent winners in college football over the last 35 years since Barry Alvarez got there, and he has destroyed the program in less than 3 years. Just obliterated Wisconsin into a team that has scored 7 points in its last 3 games. I'm going to repeat that again. 7 points in its last 3 games. And they are averaging less than a touchdown per game over the last 5 games. So this is just absolutely awful from Luke Fickell. The guy has taken a once proud program and he's run it into the ground. If Wisconsin had the money to buy him out, he would have been fired last week.
Well, Jake, what I would argue there is who are they going to get? I mean, we know you guys have talked about it before.
That's Wisconsin.
You guys have talked about it before.
That's a job people want.
But they're not that high in the coaching carousel. Do you know how many openings are in college football right now? Give me Bill Belichick. Yes, that you heard that correctly. Maybe the greatest NFL coach of all time. Not this year and not in college football with the North Carolina Tar Heels. It has been embarrassing what he's done with UNC. He is wasting an entire year of these poor kids' collegiate careers down there. He's phoning it in. He's a 70-year-old that's using it as a retirement home in a Power 4 program. I don't even know if he's the head coach there or is it his 24-year-old girlfriend? Who is the coach at UNC? He does not care about the team, and he's just using it, like I said, as a retirement home. It's BS. And if I'm a player for UNC, I am very, very angry.
Well, if your argument is that Wisconsin is not going to be an attractive job, then I don't know how you think North Carolina is going to be. At the very least, the guy's bringing him some publicity.
But Bill Belichick is a way less attractive coaching candidate.
Here we go. Bill Belichick had 1 year. Luke Fickell has had multiple years, and the Big Ten has been on somewhat of a downward spiral. Luke Fickell more so on the hot seat and deserves to be fired. All right. We've eliminated the bonus question. Here it is. Winner takes all. And we go to the unranked teams. We'll start with Ben.
Oh, that bonus question. It would have been fun, too. For the unranked teams that will make the college football playoff, give me the Tulane Green Wave. Easily, I would say as well. I think you and I, we're going to have some common ground right here. We can agree that the American Athletic Conference will send a team.
That's going to be one of 5 teams.
Correct, but that conference will send a team. And the team I would argue has the best chance to make the college football playoff or make the AAC championship out of that conference is Tulane. Look, they're an undefeated conference team in there right now. Their one loss is to number 7 Ole Miss. They killed Northwestern. They beat Duke. And the only real challenge they have left remaining is against number 25 Memphis. A lot of other teams, there's so many more tests left on their schedule. For Tulane, it's just Memphis. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, so apparently Ben Chadwick here does not like the American troops because the clear answer is the United States Naval Academy. Navy is undefeated, one of 6 undefeated teams in all of FBS football right now. And so, kind of like the Ohio State point that Adam for some reason didn't give me, this is not a matter of opinion, but this is a matter of fact, right? Tulane, North Texas, USF, Memphis, all of those teams, they lose another game. See ya. Navy has the opportunity to lose a game and still make it. It's a fact. The easiest path to the college football playoff is the team that doesn't have a loss yet. They can lose another game and still make it. The other teams can't.
Do you know exactly who Navy plays as well to round out its season? USF, Memphis, right? They play some of the best, North Texas as well. They have such a difficult schedule going forward.
No, they absolutely do.
And they can lose one of them, and that's okay.
Well, here's where I think this is different. I don't know if Navy does have the cushion that Tulane has.
What?
I think with a couple of
They have a
Power Four
loss.
wins,
Navy doesn't.
and they also have a couple of wins that are impressive. Ben Chadwick takes the juicer in this one. Jake Klein goes down. 0 for the guy in the open that said he is going to win the juicer. And there is Ben Chadwick, 1-0 at +2. So Ben, your thoughts on getting into that top 4 positioning after your debut?
You know, it's fun to have that as the result. Expected, of course, going into this.
Yeah,
going
sure.
up
It's a
against,
good suit, too. I got to say, it looks awesome.
Is it now that I won, now you're buttering me
Yeah,
up?
no, it looks great.
All right.
Well, I appreciate that.
We've got college basketball on the horizons, and the juicer is in the rear view on the other side. Nate Cunningham joins the show.
Welcome to my house. Lately, not my happy place. Everybody's pretty tired of each other. The parents were not themselves. My little brothers were morphing into small creatures. The walls were closing in. Clearly, a case of too much family, too close, 24/7. And there's a lot of that going around right now. If this sounds like your house, try going someplace new. YourLifeYourVoice.org. You'll find lots of ideas to help you handle the family stresses of being confined to close quarters. YourLifeYourVoice.org. It might not get you out of the house, but it could help you find a little more breathing room.
Welcome back on No Pulp. We've got some college football talk in the books already, more to come, but for a moment, let's turn our attention to college basketball. Adam Hipsky, Jake Klein here with you. Adam, we've got a couple of questions, and I want you to start with this one. What unranked team in college basketball is going to make a deep March run this year?
Yeah, let's give credit to Virginia. The Cavaliers go out and get, I think, one of the most impressive coaches in college basketball in Ryan Odom. And I think a lot of people just give him credit for that UMBC win, but I thought he did a phenomenal job at VCU as well. You have the hangover season with Tony Bennett, 15-17, and trust me, Cavaliers aren't going to put up with many losing seasons. But right now, the Cavs have completely retooled this roster and have shown that they're ready to win and ready to win now with what Odom has done in the portal.
Yeah, I like Ryan Odom. I think that Virginia team has kind of a lot of question marks, some young players, some international players who I just don't know how it's going to translate for them. The team for me is NC State. And Will Wade, I think, is the #1 coach that was available in this past coaching cycle, and NC State lands him. Remember, this is a school with a proud basketball tradition, right? And when they split up the $20.5 million, a lot more of it went to basketball at NC State than it did at a lot of other schools. Of course, it helped them get Darion Williams, maybe the best player in the ACC. He was the preseason player of the year. What he did at Texas Tech last year, I think, puts him in position to be the single best player in the ACC. You know Will Wade has been there and done that. You know he's got a good supporting cast around Williams. Look, they're the 26th ranked team in the nation, right? They're the first team receiving votes outside of the top 25. I think NC State gets into that top 25 quickly, and I think they make some noise.
I certainly think it's possible. We go with a couple of ACC teams, but let's go to someone that maybe gets out of the Atlantic coast, Nate Cunningham.
Yeah, well, thanks, guys. But there's something about both those teams that, Jake, you kind of hit on a little bit. The question marks. Will Wade is impressive, and he's proven time and time again, both at LSU and McNeese, that he can turn programs around. But does he have that same success at NC State? And obviously a new head coach with Virginia also brings up some question marks. So for me, it's very simple. Go to a team that's proven themselves. When they get to March, they can step up. How about San Diego State? The Aztecs have been one of the most consistent teams, and the real fact of the matter is that when you look at Ken Palm's advanced statistics, teams that are in the top 25 in adjusted offense, in the top 40 in adjusted defense, are almost guaranteed to make it deep into March. Of the last, since 2002, All of the NCAA champions have been in the top of those categories except for 2. San Diego State sets themselves up preseason to be in those categories as well. I think the Aztecs have enough to get it done, guys, and really quickly propel themselves as one of the best teams in the country.
All right, we've talked about teams that we think can make a run. Now, how about some guys that we think can propel their teams to making a run? Jake, your best player in college basketball.
I think people are allergic to admitting that Texas Tech has good players in just about every sport because you know what? They got the moolah, unlike a lot of other places, and they got themselves a heck of a transfer before last season in J.T. Toppin, who was the Big 12 Player of the Year last year, and he's coming back for more this season. This guy averaged a double-double, 18 points and 10 rebounds last year, and that scoring is only going to be elevated in this Texas Tech offense this season. Look, the guy is Dennis Rodman if he was a little bit bouncier and a little bit of a better shooter. He said, I'd rather have 20 rebounds on a given night than 20 points. Well, guess what? He usually doesn't get 20 rebounds, although he is the best rebounder in the country, but he gets 20 points pretty darn often.
All right, you've got a Dennis Rodman comparison, and I've got someone that is about as far away from Dennis Rodman as you can get, but that does not mean this guy is not a stud. A first-team All-American a year ago, and that is Braden Smith.
Oh, I see some Rodman in him.
Reminds me of Chris Paul at Wake Forest. I mean, this guy is unbelievable, and he has developed into one of the best players in the country. And this year, he can finally put it all together and be the best player in the country. He makes everyone around him better. He makes Trey Kaufman-Renn, a guy that was a 3-star out of Silver Creek High School, look like one of the best forwards in not just the Big Ten, but all the country.
I mean, Trey Kaufman-Renn is one of the best forwards in the country.
Exactly. You know why? It's because this guy is about as surgical as you can get in the pick and roll. His one downside, can he shoot the 3? He shot it at nearly a 40% clip a year ago. And I think Braden Smith has continued to elevate his game each of the 3 years that he has been in West Lafayette. But this year, he finally puts it all together, and he wins the Wooden Award in March.
Yeah, we'll see. What does Nate Cunningham have to say?
Well, guys, you guys chose to go with experience, something that I went when I decided to take San Diego State. Instead, I'm going to do the exact opposite. How about a freshman in Cameron Boozer? Listen, all the hype last year was around Cooper Flagg, and he solidified himself, I would argue, as a top 5 player this century. Cameron Boozer, I think, is better than Cooper Flagg. The fact that he is just as bouncy, he can shoot the ball as well, but it's his shot making that makes Cameron Boozer that special. How about his stat line in an exhibition? 24 and 23 rebounds, add on 6 assists and 3 stocks. This is a guy that is going to have an impact on every single game. Braden Smith in his exhibition, he was responsible for 7 points in the second half. Lackluster at best. And Toppin, he's a double-double machine. But is the double-double machine going to be able to carry a team when it comes to March? Cam Boozer looks like he is going to take this Duke team that saw so much success last year as unequivocally the number 1 team in the nation and continue that success as we roll into 2026. Jake.
I think there's a chance that Cameron Boozer is the best player in the country, but a little early to say that he's better than Cooper Flagg, no?
No, I don't think it's crazy at all to say that he's better than Cooper Flagg. This is a guy that was so dominant in high school. He knows how to win, but look at what he's done against the top 20 team already this season. The fact that he had a fearlessness to just go out there and attack against a Tennessee squad that was going to go at him, Jake, I just don't see a world where you can say this is a guy that is more athletic, that has more post skills, at 6'9" at the power forward position. He's going to be a dominant person in college basketball.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think that's early. I think that's very early. For a guy that really, I mean, Cooper Flagg was probably one of the best players in college basketball for the last decade. But we've got the Boozer twins coming into town, but now they've got to play on a team, and the team that can win the national title. What do you think here, Jake?
I think it's their team.
Oh.
That's the fact of the matter. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But, Adam, your best team in college basketball is?
All right. I'm going with the Michigan Wolverines. We've gone the ACC.
Unbiased.
Braden Smith might be the best player in college basketball, but the best team is who Braden Smith is going to have to go up against. A 19-win jump between the last year under Juwan Howard and the first year under Dusty May. I don't think it's going to be another 19-win jump this season, but listen, what Dusty May did in year 1 was beyond impressive, and he put together an entirely new team. and made them play at a high-end level. I think that he's got better players than what he did a year ago. He's got a year under his belt at the Big Ten level. And listen, a win at Madison Square Garden against St. John's in an exhibition, I understand it's an exhibition, but he has made this roster the best in college basketball, and I think Dusty May is one of the most impressive coaches in the country.
All right, I spoiled it a little bit, but my best team in the country is none other than the Duke Blue Devils. Look, I don't know if I'm ready to declare either of the Boozer twins as the best player in the country, but I can tell you that both of them are pretty darn good. And this Duke team, it's hard to believe I'm saying this after they lost Cooper Flagg and lost Con Knipple, but I think it's a deeper team than Duke had last year. You look at so many of the different players they have, of course, Malik Brown, who we're all very familiar with here in Syracuse, but they bring in a couple other freshmen in Dame Sarr, who's just maybe the most raw, talented freshman in the country, and Nico Kamenia, and then two of the best shooters in Caleb Foster and Isaiah Evans. So, look, this Duke team, I don't know if it has the star power that it had last year, but it is a deeper team, and I just love the way that John Shire gets his teams to defend. And I know Nate Cunningham agrees.
Yeah, Jake, it's hard to disagree with what you said. When Duke sits here and they lose their entire starting five, you assume there's going to be a regression until they replace their entire starting five. You went through the names, but you say Sarr is one of the best and most raw, talented players out there. I think that goes to reaffirm the fact that Cameron Boozer will be one of the best, if not the best player in the nation. When you look through this Duke team, there is depth upon depth upon depth, and their expectation is genuinely to be the national champions. They were the #1 team last year. They proved it time and time again, and they just couldn't get it done in March. This is a team that has that expectation, that has a little bit of experience. You mentioned Malik Brown, the glue guy. He's going to help lead this Duke Blue Devils squad to really be the top team in the country.
Well, it seems that Adam Hipsky is the only guy not on the Duke train.
Well, listen, I think that Malik Brown, you mentioned it, Nate, he's the glue guy, but I think Michigan has some more glue guys. You've got Roddy Gale, Namari Burnett, and LJ Kaysen returning from that team a year ago. And listen, it's one thing to have a glue guy, but it's another thing to have a glue trio. And I think Dusty May has the perfect blend of new talent and guys to bring the spark to Ann Arbor and what they had a year ago in proven winners.
We're getting back to college football after this. It's time to start taking a look at the brackets. If the college football playoffs started today, we'll tell you next.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to No Pulp. For Jake Klein, I'm Adam Hipsky. Listen, we dipped our toe into the pond of college basketball, but we have been shoulder deep in college football, and we're right back to it. All right, we've got a bracket. Granted, it is October, and these games aren't getting played until December, but it's never too early to get a bracket, and that's what we have right here. If the season ended today, we've got 1 through 12, but Jake, I don't think this is how it's going to shake out when that bracket is announced in early December. Which team on this wall will not have their name called when the committee announces its 12?
Well, it's the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, and I'll tell you why. Look, Georgia Tech has done everything asked of it this season. Undefeated, you literally cannot do anything more, and they're going to get to 11-0. They're going to beat NC State, Boston College, and Pitt. and then they're going to get shafted out of the college football playoff. I see it coming from a mile away because in the last week, they're going to lose the clean old-fashioned hate rivalry game against Georgia.
Yep.
Then they're going to go to the ACC championship game as an undefeated team in conference play. They're going to lose to presumably Miami. So then they're going to have lost to the only two quote-unquote elite teams that they play all year, and they're going to get screwed out of the college football playoff because the committee is never giving a two-loss ACC team a bid.
Listen, I think it's certainly possible that Georgia Tech loses to Georgia, but I think that Brent Key has the Yellow Jackets in a really good spot to take down the Bulldogs. So I think Georgia Tech is in, and I think they are the top representative from the ACC, but I'm going to go with BYU. And you talk about this playoff committee maybe screwing the Yellow Jackets out of a spot, and I think this could be the spot with the Cougars, and you see it right there. BYU is 10th in the AP poll, but right now they've got their eyes on number 13 Texas Tech and a top 20 Cincinnati team. Both of those games on the road, and listen, the resilience, it's elite, but the dominance hasn't. They've been outgained in consecutive games, having to rely on second half comebacks. I think it's sustainable to pick up a win here and there in September and October, but I think to make it into the final 12, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Georgia Tech, BYU, both candidates to get kind of shafted, for lack of a better term, by the College Football Playoff Committee. All right, we've got 4 first-round matchups here. Memphis, Georgia, Vandy, Georgia Tech, Miami, Oregon, BYU, Ole Miss. Which one intrigues you the most?
Jake, first off, it never gets old looking at a bracket.
Yeah, it's just awesome.
And, you know, you remember the days where it would just be these 4, but now we've got a whole nother 8. But the one that really jumps off the page to me is Miami and Oregon. These are 2 teams that have historically been good programs, but right now both of their head coaches are trying to make them great, and nothing I think would make them really cement themselves onto the national landscape than a college football quarterfinal game and a matchup. Whoever picks up that win, I think, is really in a good spot in years to come. So the offense, I think, is what is interesting about Miami and Oregon. Carson Beck versus Dante Moore, 2 Heisman candidates. But look at that defense.
Yeah, the defenses
both
have been great.
teams, top 10 in scoring defense. So, you know, both of these offense, I think, can pop off at any time and go for 40 points. But I think the difference is which defense can hold the opposing offense off the board.
Look, that's fun. I think all these are fun matchups.
Yeah.
Brackets are just fun in general.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if there's a more fun matchup on here than Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech, because at the start of the season, who saw that coming?
Yeah.
I mean, let alone like 5 years ago, who would have seen that coming? Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech in a college football playoff game? This era of college football is insane.
Yeah.
You've got programs that have not done anything since dinosaurs roamed the earth in college football playoff position. So look, I know I just said I didn't think GT would make it, but if they do and this matchup happened, someone, some fan base, some coach, some program is going to get the win of a lifetime, and that is awesome.
I'll tell you what, if the Commodores and Yellow Jackets face off, I feel bad for any defensive lineman, any linebacker that gets into the backfield and has to try and take down Diego Pavia or Haynes King, because those guys and their escapability is, I think, 2 of the best in the country.
Yeah. Adam, final question. Which team has the easiest path to the championship game?
Listen, I think this is an easy answer because they're the number 1 team in the land, but I'm going with Ohio State. We've talked about them a little bit in this show, but it's hard to argue against a team that has the best offensive player in the country and the best defensive player in the country. And Jake, you just talked about it. Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech, who would have expected it? And who would have expected it? Because these are 2 teams that haven't been around the block. And I see the Buckeyes walking to the semifinals with regardless of who they play. And then you've got Alabama, Georgia. Listen, I think these are 2 teams that have shown they have flaws, and more so than what they have in years past. I've got Ohio State with the easiest path.
Look, if the question was easiest path to the semifinals, no doubt it's Ohio State. But hello, Georgia, Alabama, 2 hardest teams to beat in the playoffs over the last 10 years. I do not want to see either of those teams, especially Alabama right now, if I'm Ohio State. To me, it's clearly Indiana. And put simply, it's because you avoid the G and you avoid the A. All the other teams, Miami, Oregon, look, these teams could clip you. Texas A&M could clip you on a bad day, but you avoid Georgia, you avoid Alabama. That's why I think Indiana has the best road to the playoff. That'd be crazy, but That's the way it's set up.
Here's what I think. I mean, I like Oregon to get past Texas A&M. I think it's really hard to beat a team twice, especially with the caliber that Oregon is at. And Dan Lanning, he doesn't like to lose. I don't see it happening twice to the Hoosiers. All right, college football playoff is coming soon, but coming even sooner. Plays of the week and final words. Don't go anywhere. No Pulp returns.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Closing up shop here on No Pulp. He's Jay Klein. I'm Adam Hipsky. Listen, we've talked college football. We've talked a little bit of college basketball, but it's time to get a third sport with a check mark, and that is college soccer. And with that, we take you to College of Charleston for my play of the week. Postseason hopes on the line. College of Charleston needs their hopes with a win. And how about that? Noah Gold on the assist and Lennon Gill, a double bicycle kick right there on the assist from Gold to Gill, unheard of. I mean, look at that. To put it on the money on the give, and then to put it home, sneak it past the tender. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
I'm not the biggest football guy, but that was pretty cool. Yep. I am a big football guy, however, and that's where my play of the week comes from. Good old-fashioned SEC ball. And how about what Cam Coleman does in the corner of the end zone here? He's getting absolutely mugged by the Arkansas defensive back, and he puts the right hand out and just whoop, pulls it in for the touchdown. Unbelievable catch by Cam Coleman. I mean, this is one of the best catches we've seen at the college or the pro level in several years. Unbelievable catch from Cam Coleman with the defender all over him who got called for the flag. Doesn't matter, just too good.
Hey, that's what we call an and one. Impressive grab there from Cam Coleman. All right, Friday night in Charlotte, North Texas quarterback Drew Mestemaker didn't just have a good game, he authored one of the greatest performances in college football history. The redshirt freshman threw for 608 yards and 4 touchdowns while completing over 75% of his passes in a 54-20 win that moved the Mean Green to 7-1 for the first time since 1977. It was a new American Conference record, the second most yards by any quarterback this decade, and the 17th highest total ever in FBS history. But what makes this special isn't the stat line, it's the story behind it. Just a year ago, Mestemaker was a walk-on backup who hadn't started a game at quarterback since his freshman year of high school. His first real shot came in the 2024 First Responder Bowl after the starter entered the transfer portal. This is a game where Mestemaker threw for nearly 400 yards and ran for a 70-yard touchdown, and now the redshirt freshman is leading the nation's #1 scoring offense, second in the FBS in passing yards, and giving North Texas its best season in nearly half a century. When Mestemaker held up that 600 sign Wilt Chamberlain style after the game, it wasn't arrogance, it was validation. Proof that patience and readiness can still write the best stories in college football. And this is a sport that will always be built around 5 stars, but it's the 0-star walk-ons who remind us what makes it special.
For my final word, I want to go away from the stories told under the bright lights of FBS. The best are written in the quiet corners of the game, like in Henniker, New Hampshire. New England College, ranked 764th in the nation, third to last in ESPN's SP Plus ratings, just did something that numbers can't measure. They won a football game. Sure, the Pilgrims beat Maine Maritime, the second worst team in those SB Plus ratings, but it's their first victory since the program was discontinued in 1974. That's 51 years without a win, 51 years without even a team. Head coach Kevin Kelly of the Pilgrims personally visited more than 100 of New Hampshire's 116 high schools to build from scratch this team, which has only 68 players, 8 juniors, 1 senior, and a whole lot of dreamers, nearly 70% of whom come from New England. On Saturday, the Pilgrims found something that no rankings can quantify. They found belief. And in a sport consumed by powerhouses and playoff rankings and recruits, New England College reminded us why we love this sport in the first place.
Couple of feel-good stories there, Jake. We've got North Texas and New England College. Starts to feel like New England might be must-watch football from here on out. Are they getting hot?
I'm keeping an eye on. They stayed at 764 in the SP Plus ratings, though.
All right. Well, we've got a full another week of college football for maybe them to rise into the top 5. All right, no Pulp. Thanks for joining us.